Children love to play. It's a fact. They explore and make believe and learn. They stretch their minds and their bodies when you give them a chance. Research tells us there are enormous benefits to unstructured play. Remember how much fun it was to just be outdoors? To make believe? To learn something new? So what's the problem? This, for one. According to a recent study, the amount of time spent outdoors is decreasing, while the amount of time spent with electronic entertainment can be as much as 7.5 hours a day. Wow.
You know, one of the reasons that children don't play outdoors more is because they're so hooked on screens. And we hear this all the time. But there's another consideration. There was a survey of almost 100 children ages 3 to 17, and they were asked, what would you like to do on a favorite day of play? And almost every one of them said, I want to be outdoors playing with my friends. Almost none of them mentioned screens. So I think they resort to screens because we don't give them a chance to be outdoors playing with their friends.
It's not hard to understand. Children are curious. They like to learn new things, to use their imagination. And one of the best places that all that can happen is right here, outdoors. The problem is, and this is a problem, is that the value of nature is being lost on today's children. Research clearly shows that a lack of exposure to the outdoors can impact health, well-being, and the appreciation for nature.
I think it's important not only for their physical fitness to be able to run and jump and climb and do the things that are only available in nature, but also for their emotional wellness and their lack of creativity. And we learn our imagination and we learn to be creative when we're in the outdoors. It's a great environment to teach kids all kinds of skills and values. And one of the most important is we want children to be knowledgeable about nature and attuned to nature, because who's going to speak for the environment 20 years from now if kids have never been exposed to it? And if they're not exposed to it, they're not going to care.
The fact is, children need to spend more time outdoors. You remember what it was like to play outdoors? Things come alive in a make-believe world. There's a lot of competition for our child's time. There's, of course, school, where more and more emphasis is being placed on academic achievement and test results. And that's not all bad. We want our children to be prepared, but there's this issue of balance. Parents are to be commended for wanting the very best for their children, but part of the very best means letting children be children. And sometimes that's hard. So what's the answer? Well, there isn't one. There's several. And one of the places that it begins is at home. One of the easiest ways to help children gain the benefit of the outdoors is to regularly get the family out of the house. Set aside some time for group activities like a field trip, a bike ride, a walk in the woods, or a visit to a nature center. Explore, examine, question. See what's on the other side of your front door. There's a whole world out there.
Now, lasting family bonds can happen in a lot of different ways, and one of those ways is in nature. In fact, in nature, family members can put into practice many of the behaviors that help form healthier families. Things like sharing, cooperation, and even problem solving. And in fact, in nature, families don't have the same distractions they have at home. They can actually be physically and emotionally present and listen to one another. Decades of research consistently show that time spent in nature build healthier, stronger families.
It doesn't have to be complicated. Just make it fun, and the benefits are enormous.
Children thrive when they have the opportunity to be in the outdoors. There are health benefits and mental health benefits, wellness benefits. We know that blood pressure decreases, their stress levels come down. More importantly though, it's an opportunity for play. It's an opportunity for creativity and unstructured opportunities for a child to be themselves. Children absolutely thrive in the outdoors.
And sometimes children just need to be allowed to play. Certainly the days of children roaming the neighborhood and being home just in time for dinner have had to be modified to face the realities of modern life. But the fact remains, children need time on their own outdoors. The benefits are enormous and well worth the time, effort, and creativity it takes to make that time a reality. As one expert put it, get out of the way and let them play outside.
So I want you to ask yourself, what kind of parent do you want to be? Do you want to be the gatekeeper? The parent that keeps their kids from having any risk, from having any fun, from taking chances, from getting dirty? On the other end of the spectrum, maybe you're a free-range parent, to let your kids freely explore and do everything that they want to do. Today's parents really try to find balance between the two, helping their kids to be safe, but also to challenge themselves.
It's important to understand that outdoor play isn't necessarily the same as recess. Recess has been shown to be an important part of the school day, but depending on circumstances, it may not have a nature component, and that's an important distinction. But the question remains, does the school have a role to play in maximizing the benefits of nature? Absolutely.
Schools play an important role in facilitating and encouraging outdoor exploration. And it's a challenge for schools because they have lots of standards and academic expectations that sometimes is interpreted to be inside all the time. They can use nature to better understand science. It's much more interesting in the outside, experiencing the elements of the earth rather than just looking at it in a textbook. Children are natural explorers, and so going outdoors, collecting leaves, gathering real specimens of whether it's plants or looking for particular kinds of insects is a very legitimate way for schools to support science education.
I think being out of doors just allows children to release some of the stress they sometimes feel in the classroom. It allows them to be free from the constraints of what exists on the page of a book or on a computer screen, to really explore and begin to ask questions and begin to hypothesize about what they're learning. To me, this helps them become better learners.
There's really no argument among reasonable people about the time spent with nature. It makes a positive difference in the lives of children everywhere. Parents know that, many educators know that, and children certainly know it. And two key groups coming on board are governments and community groups.
We've been developing nature grounds for several years now that engage the families and the children. It's so important for science, it's so important for the bonding of the family, but not only that, it's healthy activity. That's why we're engaged in nature and developing nature grounds within the school districts and also the park systems.
We have an issue in our society today in which 54% of our population live in urban areas. And really, it's really stunning that by 2050, almost 70% of our population are going to be living in urban areas. So there's going to be less and less opportunities for kids to connect to green spaces. And I think that we should, as a community, really try to create more outdoor spaces for kids to connect with nature, to explore, and to discover.
Having served as your National Park Service Director, I know how important going outside to play and linking to nature play is for all of us. That is for children all the way to people that are mature adults like myself, getting outside to play. It makes sure that we're healthier, happier, and we are just ready to have fun.
In his book, Last Child in the Woods, Richard Louv makes the case of why children need more direct experience with nature. He says that what we have is a nature deficit disorder. He cites research that shows that all humans can suffer if they're alienated from nature. The nature deficit disorder results in diminished use of the senses, attention, difficulties and higher rates of physical and emotional illness. That's amazing. And there's more. New research shows that nature can offer powerful therapy for depression, obesity, and attention deficit disorder. It also helps increase a child's power of concentration.
And one of the things you see in a setting like this is the beneficent effects of nature. If you put a group of students and have them walk through the woods and they're checking their cortisol levels with salivary and blood studies, you find that their stress levels go down, their immune system goes up just from contact with nature.
There's also evidence pointing out that exposure to a park setting, walking in a park, sitting in a park, can help improve attention and critical thinking, creative thinking, right? Where they have to come up with new ideas. It's really quite fascinating, isn't it? That such a simple thing could improve our ability to think and to be focused on things.
The benefits are all positive. It's not complicated. Children benefit from exposure to nature, whether it's through organized activities or through unstructured play, and the movement is growing. Organizations, governments, and individuals everywhere are joining together in ways large and small to get children outside. But there is still a lot to be done. Nature and the outdoors, in whatever form it takes, is a treasure that benefits all of us, young and old alike. It's ours to explore, to share, and to use. The facts are clear. We all benefit from our exposure to nature. And yet, if we're not careful, we will not take full advantage of this most valuable resource. All of us, parents, schools, and communities, have an obligation to make sure our children have access and opportunity to interact with nature. Do your part and come outdoors with us!